Hey, you guys. On today's show, we've got a moment of truth from Bernie Sanders and the Democrats over the weekend, which we need to discuss. And then we've got the narcos that are not having a very good time of it under President Trump's directive to blow them all out of the water. One country's president is basically threatening to take them out. And then finally, we've got Kelsey Pritchard of Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America to talk about what they've got cooking with a certain political action committee to take down a Democratic governor candidate. So stick around for all that today on the Angela Box Show.
Hello, my name is Angela Box. Show your personality.
Okay, you guys, before we begin, I have a serious first world problem. Okay, couple. This is so dumb. So when I make my videos, I can see myself on my StreamYard, which is the software I record on. And sometimes it is blurry AF. Okay. And I've talked to y'all about this before. I've talked to y'all about the Wi-Fi in our building is the literal worst. Okay. I cannot even explain. Even when it's plugged into an Ethernet cable, it's like, no, we're going to be blurry. Hopefully it's not today. But again, I feel like I must warn you that this may happen from time to time. Another first world problem I'm having, my eczema. The raccoon has attacked my face again. You guys, I'm gonna tell you a little about my nighttime routine because it's real dumb. But if you have eczema, the struggle is real. Okay. Eczema is a skin allergy. I've had it since I was 6 weeks old. God only knows if the vaccines did it. Who knows? But I've had it since I was 6 weeks old. And right now, primarily, it's on my face, neck, and chest. It's super fun. It's the one place you don't want it, right? So I've been taking to wearing gloves at night. And then not only do I wear gloves, I put my retinoid on. So, you get that anti-aging. And then I slather it with Vaseline and slap on a glove. But that wasn't doing the trick because I was still waking up with scratches on my face because I could still get around it and it was still scratching it. So then I decided, let me go ahead and buy some silicone gloves that are used when you go into the manicures to get your nails did. And they put it over it when you're doing your hand conditioning. So I walk around with these Ronald McDonald silicone gloves because it's the one thing that I found that will not show scratches overnight. Well, last night I forgot to put them on about an hour into going to bed. And I woke up and I was like, oh crap, I forgot to put my gloves on. Well, I had done plenty of damage during that time. And this morning I woke up with just eczema all over here. I was just scratching. So, that's my first world problem for you today. But let's get to the show. So the first thing I want to talk about is over the weekend, Democrats, they had their little No Kings rally and it didn't go well. It didn't go as well as they would hope. In fact, my friend Ron Reynolds, who is a state rep here, who I often debate, he said on a panel we were on a couple nights ago, he was like, oh, there are 7 million people. And I'm like, oh, dude, you are just being gaslit. No, there wasn't. And we discussed why. Because if there were, we would have had aerial shots of this crap all throughout the country. We did not. Now, I think Democrats are starting to feel the panic a little bit about the shutdown situation because the Republicans are not budging. And the Republicans have, they've basically said to them, look, we will extend your precious Obamacare subsidies for another year while we fix this mess that you people created with Obamacare, okay? You've created a situation where there are all these subsidies given to insurance companies through the American taxpayer and then passed on to lower income Americans, and now they're set to expire. Well, Jake Tapper actually had one of the most detestable Democrats on planet Earth on his show the other day and committed an act of journalism, which I do think Jake Tapper is slowly being red-pilled. He'll probably never admit it, but I think deep down he's like Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks. He's like, yeah, I can't get behind what these people are selling anymore. But anyway, He had committed an act of journalism because Jamie Raskin's out there crying about how the Republicans are basically taking away Obamacare subsidies from Americans, and we're just not going to let that happen. And Jake Tapper was like, hold up. Weren't you the guys that made the Obamacare subsidies expire in the first place? Roll that clip.
Punchbowl News notes that some Senate Democrats see November 1st as something of an off-ramp to end the shutdown. They write, quote, Democrats can argue it's no longer feasible for Congress to address the expiring Obamacare subsidies legislatively. The goal here would be to make Republicans own the soaring premium hikes and health care coverage losses that millions of Americans would experience, unquote. Is that an exit strategy that you would be willing to consider? You take the political win without the policy win, as it were?
I mean, I've heard that theory, Jake, and personally, I reject it. We're not interested in pinning a terrible policy that America's got to live with on the Republicans. We're interested in stopping that policy and inviting the Republicans to come back to the table, urging them to come back to Washington. They've been on this nearly month-long paid vacation, and they are ignoring the fact that the vast majority of Americans wants to save the health care system that we've got, and that means those ACA tax credits, the subsidies for the insurance premiums people get every month. I mean, that's going to be millions of people whose health insurance is going to be going up, and a lot of them are not going to be able to do it. So that means they're not going to have health insurance, which means they're going to be sicker, they're going to go in at the last minute, they're going to overwhelm the emergency rooms and so on. And it's a similar assault on Medicaid. So I've not heard any Democrats, none have said to me, oh, let's just allow this terrible Republican policy to go forward so we can beat them on it next year. We're going to beat them on the fact that they even thought about throwing millions of people off of their health care, and they closed the government down to do it, and they're refusing to release the Epstein files, and they're refusing to swear in our new colleague, Adelita Gralva.
But, Congressman, you called it a terrible Republican policy. Democrats are the ones that put in this end date into these COVID-era Obamacare premium extensions, not Republicans, but be that as it may.
And so, of course, Jamie Raskin's like sputtering and, you know, whatever they can do to blame it on Republicans, they're going to do. And then there was another little, I guess, an admission, if you will, from one of the biggest socialists on planet Earth, Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders was on Jon Stewart, and Jon Stewart rightfully pointed out, and this is, okay, side note, you've got two major Democrats, Jake Tapper, Jon Stewart. These are influential people in the media who Democrats look to as leaders, okay? If you've got these two dudes who are basically now calling out Democrats to be like, this is all your fault. Like, what are you doing? Jon Stewart was like, isn't it true that there were $800 billion of subsidies that went into insurance companies' pockets? To which Bernie Sanders was like, yeah, this is true. And basically we just need to go to single payer, which ding, ding, ding. This is what they wanted in the first place. Roll that clip.
I've always been deeply concerned about healthcare as a human right.
Right.
And this is something that is so doable. We are the odd guy out as a country. I live 50 miles away from Canada. You spend a month in a hospital in Canada. You know what the bill is when you come out? $0. They spend half as much per capita as we do on healthcare. They guarantee healthcare to all of their people. This can be done. Absolutely doable. The other thing we could do, young people today finding it extremely hard to buy their own home. Cost of housing is off the charts. Why aren't we building 4 or 5 million units of low-income and affordable housing?
But let me ask you this question then, because this is where I get in my head about those prescriptions seem a charismatic leader making a forceful case for that would very much appeal to the American people. But what Democrats find themselves in a place is we've shut down the government to protect subsidies for an insurance marketplace that funnels $800 billion a year into the pockets of all these insurance companies. Have Democrats boxed themselves into a corner fighting for a system that ultimately, to get the thing that you want, that I think the American people want, they're going to have to abandon?
So those of us who understand how the Democrats work, they have nothing else. Okay. So they're they're closing it on the government to make sure that illegal aliens get health care, and also to make sure that these subsidies that they put an expiration date on, that these subsidies continue on ad infinitum forever and ever. But they know that it's not going to continue on, because the whole point of Obamacare was to collapse the healthcare system. That was the entire point of it. And it was to frog in the boiling water it for the American people. Well, guess what? Now the frog is boiling and the American people don't like it. And when you decide that you're going to create a system that was created in Obamacare, that not one single Republican voted for, when you decide that you're going to create a system that is eventually going to collapse the healthcare for millions and millions of Americans, people are not down for that. Now, Obamacare subsidies, Obamacare, as I mentioned in another video, only about 11 million people are now enrolled in the health exchanges, the Obamacare health exchanges. I'll be honest, I just got insurance with my husband and his family's company that they have. And so I finally have insurance, and, frankly, I'm sure they pay through the nose for it. And there's lots of reforms that should and could be made that don't enrich insurance companies, and also do not force Americans to pay for stuff that other people are getting. Like, can we just go back to the idea where we should all kind of be responsible for our own, bodies and stuff? If you are a person that is poor, if you are a person of low income or in the poverty, obviously we want to be able to help those people. And nobody is saying that we should just yank that rug out from under them, except Democrats. Because again, Democrats are the ones that created it. Democrats are the ones that created the exchanges and the subsidies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And their little plan is getting ready to collapse. So whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? And, Trump is basically saying these people are not acting in good faith. They're doing it for clicks. They're doing it because they literally have nothing else. And Trump's also like, the longer this goes on, if we get to day 61, all those federal workers I furloughed because of the government shutdown can basically be fired forever with no back pay. Now, as someone who wants the swamp to be drained, I'm here for that. Now, do I think that they shouldn't get their back pay? Probably not, because it's not their fault that the government was shut down. But at the same time, if we can get rid of a great majority of the swamp in one fell swoop, let's keep the government shut down for 61 days. Because I mentioned in another video that federal workers, 95% of all donations from the federal workforce go to Democrats. So you know what? I take that back what I said. Furlough them, no back pay. How about that? So Democrats, you made this bed. You made the Obamacare mess. Now you need to lay in it or lie in it or whatever the correct. I never know that. I think it's lie in it. And if they want to bring this up or make this a thing in the midterms, then why don't you try to explain to the American people why you created a system that was designed to fail in 10 years, which is exactly what is happening. They created it. They pretended it was going to be great and solve everyone's problems. It hasn't. It's made insurance more expensive. It's made people's coverage go down. There are horror story after horror story of Obamacare stuff. And the only people that seem to benefit from it, again, are the very poor, which, again, there's ways to help those people without sticking it to everybody else. So it is funny to me that we've got a couple of prominent media types that are Democrats as the day is long, that are starting to tell Democrats, elected Democrats, you guys created this shitstorm. It's your fault. You need to start negotiating in good faith. But will they? No, because they believe they're high on their own supply, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, keep the shutdown going. Day 61 is the magic day. We'll see what happens. And we will be right back. Okay, you guys, and it's fitting that I'm going to tell you about this new sponsor, because with the healthcare stuff I was just talking about, and a lot of people are freaking out and don't know what's coming next. Well, if you want to work with a patriot, if you want to work with a man who I've known for many, many years, he's also my photographer. He's done like all my headshots. He's really, really fantastic. And he's also got this other business going on where he is helping people get the best prices on health insurance. And open enrollment is coming. And Alan wants you to know that you have a choice when it comes to your health care. His name is Alan Bates. He's amazing. And the way I met him was so cool. Like the way we just started connecting and realizing that, you know, he's a Black conservative and obviously I'm a rabid lunatic. And so we just like vibed immediately. So if you want to hear about your options when it comes to healthcare and health insurance, Alan is there to help you. And as I like to say, we're creating the MAGA economy once and for all. We're going to work with people who don't hate our guts. And Alan is an amazing patriot. So just call 713-824-4636 or visit yourhealthbenefitsolution.com. That's going to be on the screen for you to see. His name is Alan Bates. And please make sure to tell him I sent you. And also, if you need headshots, hit him up for that too. Okay, you guys, real quick. The Mexican drug cartels and the Venezuelan drug cartels and the Colombian drug cartels are having a really bad time of it. And Fred and I we just finished Narcos, the original Narcos, which I'd seen before. But yeah, it's one of those series that if you haven't seen in a few years, especially with everything going on, like watch it again. It's fantastic. And now we're watching Narcos Mexico, which actually takes place before the original Narcos. It's kind of inverted timing, like to find out how the cartels really came to be. Again, fantastic. And in Narcos Mexico, we find out a lot about how they flip the votes, how the computers flip the votes. This has been going on since the 80s. That's why people in Central America and Latin American countries, when they saw what was happening in 2020, they're like, yeah, we know exactly what's going on. They do it here all the time. They're flipping the votes. The machines are flipping the votes. Anyway, that's another side issue. But when it comes to this situation, when we're talking about drug trafficking and how corrupt certain governments are, certainly in Narcos Mexico, you see that it really does go all the way to the top, like all the way to the top. And now we're seeing in real life what that looks like. And we're also seeing how Democrats, once again, come down on the 10% side of any given issue. And Democrats have, stomped their feet and had a meltdown over the fact that Trump is going after these drug traffickers. And he's going after them in the most brutal of ways, basically sending missiles to blow up their ships in the middle of the ocean. Nowhere for them to run. And there have been about 3 or 4 now that have been hit. And a submarine was hit the other day. And then I believe on Sunday, Trump hit one that just completely decimated it. It was there 1 minute, it's gone the next. And it's gotten to the point where Venezuelan officials, which again, this tells you everything you need to know. Government officials in Venezuela are freaking out. And I imagine it's happening in Mexico. And I imagine it's happening in all the hubs where all the drugs go through. Okay. They are basically changing their phone numbers. They're going underground. They're freaking out because they realize, like, this guy's serious. Like, he's going to eradicate us. He's going to blow us off the face of the earth. And when he declared the drug trafficking organizations, the narcos, as foreign terrorists, and some of them are domestic too. Like, let's keep it 100. Especially the Democrats that support them. We get to strike whenever we want to because they've been declared terrorists. Now, Democrats, of course, are having a big problem with this, and they're in their feels about it, and they're like really upset that so many drug traffickers are getting blown out of the water, and they're like, these are just fishermen. Like, what is your problem, Trump? What's your problem, King Trump? And it's like, again, you don't hate the Democrat Party enough. But I do like the fact that they continue to show that ass. Show that ass, Democrat Party, because you're taking the 10%. I'm sorry, you're taking the 3% of an issue, because most people realize that if we're talking about illicit drugs, okay, a lot of that stuff is laced with fentanyl, which comes from China, who wants to destroy the United States. And certainly the drug traffickers are doing it because there's a supply issue, because the American people want it, or a demand issue, I should say. But they're also doing it to kind of weaken the American people. Like, the government's involved. no doubt, low key are like, we can kill some Americans here. Like we should do that. Now, speaking of someone who is wanting to kill someone, the Colombian president, I think his name's, I don't even know what his name is. I should know this. Ella something. It doesn't matter. He sucks. He basically said over the weekend, I mean, this guy is clearly a puppet of the narcos, clearly, because he said that someone should take Trump out.
La humanidad tiene una primera salida y es cambiar a Trump de diversas maneras. Puede ser por el mismo Trump, la más fácil. Si no, sácala a Trump.
And then he snapped his fingers. He said, someone just take him out just like that. And so Trump was like, you know what? No more money for you, Colombia. And Trump basically said, because we know that obviously Colombia has long been a hub for drug trafficking. And we now know that the government is highly involved in it. And basically low key or high key is supporting what the narcos are doing. You're not getting one more dime of American foreign aid. And like, this is just the most simple way to deal with this. The most simple way, because these countries, because they are corrupt and because their people, they're either very rich or they're very poor. Okay. And so a lot of people suffer under these regimes, these corrupt regimes that basically are either socialist or socialist adjacent and take, the money goes to the elites and then the rest of the people suffer. And the rest of the people then want to come to America because their countries are uninhabitable and unbelievably dangerous, which, believe me, I understand why people want to come here. But the point is that Trump is working with other Latin American countries like El Salvador and Argentina to basically show here's what can be done if you've got a law and order person in here who is serious about cracking down on the narcos, cracking down on the crime, cracking down on the drugs. The people of those countries are thrilled. They want to stay in their own countries. And so I think it's funny that this Colombian president thinks that basically threatening Donald Trump isn't going to have repercussions for him, which tells me he's being told to do this by the narcos, 100% by the cartels. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how Trump decides to deal with this. If he decides that he wants to declare the Colombian president a foreign terrorist, like, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But Democrats, keep doing the most. Keep defending the drug traffickers and keep defending the idea that they should just be able to take a ship and put as much drugs on it they want and bring it into an American harbor. Like, keep defending that. Like, you're making it too easy. We'll be right back. You guys, I've told you about my friends at New Frontier Creative, and I'm going to continue telling you about them because they are amazing. And they basically transformed my space, my studio, from a sad little black backdrop, or as I call it, an ISIS bride black backdrop, into a beautiful studio space. They have taught me so much. And Becky Blaylock, who I know the most out of Kevin and Becky, they're a husband and wife team. They have their own company. They have an adorable daughter, small business. Anyway, Becky and I have known each other for quite a long time. She revamped my website, Angela Bach Show. She created my logos. She was responsible for all the amazing graphic design and mail that we did when I was a treasurer of a couple of PACs a few years back. So I mean, I cannot recommend Kevin and Becky more. They can come fix your studio if you're a content creator. They can do campaign videos for you. They can do websites. They can do logos. They can do anything that a company would need. You don't have to be a political company or a political candidate. But if you are a political candidate, they're a great partner to have too. But just, everyday companies use New Frontier Creative because they are that amazing. And what's awesome too is that if you mention Angela Box, you will get 15% off your order. 15% off of your order. So bundle everything together. If you need cards done or logos done or website done or production done, just bundle it all together. Tell them I sent you. You will not be disappointed. And it's newfrontiercreative.com. Okay, you guys, as promised, I have Kelsey Pritchard from Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America. Kelsey's been on my show before, but we've never formally got to see each other face to face. So I'm so happy to see her today on the show. And we're going to talk about a few things with the pro-life movement. So welcome, Kelsey.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Angela.
So we're going to talk about a few things. But what I want to talk about first is there's some drama going on with this abortion drug, which I can't pronounce, but Kelsey's going to tell us all about it.
Yeah, there's an abortion drug that is responsible for about 2/3 of abortions now called mifepristone. And the FDA and HHS have said they're going to study the safety of the drug. Of course, it's never safe for unborn children. It's intended to kill them. But studying the safety of the drug for women who are often sent to the ER with extreme bleeding, sepsis, and hemorrhaging, all sorts of terrible things. But while they've been saying that they're going to study the drug, the FDA just a few weeks ago approved a new generic version of mifepristone, so flooding the market with a cheaper version of the drug that is intended to kill more babies and will send more women to the ER.
It's weird because there's some contradictory things going on with this administration, which overall I think has been pretty good. But when it comes to the life issue, there's a couple of contradictions because the Office of Population Control is an agency that the Trump administration is shutting down, which, correct me if I'm wrong, has a lot of ties to Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, they have a lot of ties to just abortion, promoting abortion in general in this country, especially like sex education, crude things that we don't want our children to be taught in the classroom. And so it's a good thing that they are dismantling this office. They've done other good things, of course, like free pro-life prisoners who were just exercising their First Amendment rights and then were sent to prison under the FACE Act from the Biden administration. They enacted the Global Protect Life rule so that our taxpayer dollars that go abroad aren't supporting abortion businesses, and they helped defund Planned Parenthood through the One Big Beautiful Bill. So the administration has done a lot of good things. So this is just really disheartening. And so we're urging them to reverse course and to end the mail order of abortion drugs that the Biden administration allowed and that they have never taken off the books, and they've just continued with that policy.
Do you think it's a situation where it's a swamp creature kind of situation where there's some people in the FDA that, they push this and Trump and RFK and whomever can't watch every single thing all the time? Do you think it's a situation of the swamp fighting back, or is it something else?
I mean, I'd really like to think that it's a case of the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing. We do know there are a lot of really good pro-life people in the administration at FDA and HHS. And so it's not too late for them to reverse course. And people need to know how big of a deal this is because, of course, Trump's position and what he has stated is that the Dobbs decision sent the issue of abortion back to the states. Well, states can't have their pro-life laws fully in effect if we continue to allow the mail order of abortion, because that means that New York abortionists can essentially keep mailing drugs into Texas and other pro-life states with no repercussions whatsoever. And there's very little that governors and AGs can do to stop it. So we need the federal government to, at a minimum, roll back what Biden put into place and put a stop to this nonsense.
Yeah, it's a real perplexing thing for sure. And then, but the original reason I reached out to you is because a couple of weeks ago I saw that Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America, which is the preeminent pro-life organization in the country, I would say, they're putting together a political action committee to fight one Roy Cooper, who is the governor of North Carolina. And he's a Democrat. And what's all this about?
Yeah, so essentially what we're trying to do is retain the pro-life majority in the Senate and the House. And one of the states we're doing that in is North Carolina. We've got a $4.5 million investment there. It would be disastrous for Roy Cooper to take that Senate seat there in North Carolina because he's someone who's so extreme on the abortion issue that he believes if you survive an abortion that infanticide should be allowed, essentially. He also is no fan to women, by the way. He vetoed paid maternity leave on Mother's Day weekend. So this guy is not a fan of families, not a friend of families or mothers or unborn babies, and he should be nowhere near the U.S. Senate.
Yeah, no kidding. What's that race look like? Who is his opponent? I know that he's the current governor in a red purpley state, but it's still a red state. So who is his opponent?
His opponent is Michael Whatley. And
oh yes, Michael Whatley.
Yeah. And Michael got into the race after him. So the numbers as far as fundraising, I know Cooper has raised more than double what Whatley has. Of course, Cooper has this big war chest from being governor. And so he's going to use all that money to try to spin his record and make himself appear to be a moderate, which we know he's not on this issue or other issues. So, we're doing all we can to fight in that race and to stop Cooper from his Senate bid. Yeah,
Michael Whatley would be great. Former chair of the RNC, who Trump basically appointed or said, this is the guy we need. I think in this environment, it'd be shocking if MAGA is not out voting in droves in every single election. So hopefully the North Carolina situation is the current, would this be a flip or is this going to be a retained Democrat seat if he wins?
I think this is that they would be flipping the seat.
Would be a flip. Okay.
Who's there? Because we're in several states right now. We're also in Michigan in their Senate race. We're in Georgia.
Okay, so it's going to go through different states, not just North Carolina.
Yep, we've got more we're going to announce, and then we just started engaging in some House races. We're on the ground in South Carolina and Iowa recently for some House races too.
I think, just showing the extreme positions of these people that, like Obama before them, just, thinks infanticide is no big. If the woman intended to kill her baby, well, shouldn't have been born alive, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And, these Democrats these days can't draw the line at all and when abortion would be unacceptable. It's not a game of, they just support first trimester abortion or even abortions where the baby is viable. They can't even draw the line in the third trimester, which is wild. They are no longer the party of safe, legal, and rare. They're the party of abortion anytime, anywhere.
Okay, and finally, Kelsey, we talked about the shutdown in my first segment today and how the Democrats are kind of letting the cat out of the bag, that it's not necessarily just about these subsidies, that they're the ones that created, they're the ones that made them sunset, all the things, because they want to collapse the healthcare system. But the Democrats did put some goodies in there for Abortion Inc. And tell everyone what that is about.
Yeah, so there's a policy called the Hyde Amendment that is supposed to apply so that our taxpayer dollars don't fund abortions. But when they wrote Obamacare and passed that, they created a workaround that allows these subsidies to go to insurance companies that cover abortion. So essentially, we are paying for those abortions through those subsidies. And what we've been saying is, okay, Republicans, if you are going to continue with these subsidies, at the very minimum, they have to be Hyde compliant. We can't continue to force the taxpayers to fund abortions in this country. And so we've been on Capitol Hill talking with members and their staff about how important this is, because it's something that not a lot of people know about, because there are so many problems with Obamacare. It's hard to zero in on just one thing.
Yeah, it is. And I just think it's interesting now that they're basically saying, yeah, we want to collapse the system. It's like, yeah, we know. We're aware. I did remember what I wanted to talk to you about. Yay. The IVF situation. President Trump has said that he's going to hopefully put a stipulation with healthcare, with insurance, that insurance will cover IVF, because he says, we need to have more babies, because us conspiracy theorists, we understand that part of the whole reason to get the COVID vax was to sterilize women and men. And now we've got situations where foreign births in America are greatly outpacing native births. And he wants to change that. What's your thought?
Yeah, and I'm sure there's some varying views on IVF amongst your listeners, just like there are amongst the Republicans and conservatives at large in this country. Our thing with IVF is that The companies that offer IVF and profit off IVF, they often are engaged in some immoral practices that have to do with the destruction of embryos. They create so many and then freeze them perpetually, or they destroy many of them. So that's really our concern with any IVF policy or any promotion of IVF is, are we going to make sure that these companies are doing things ethically and that they're held accountable to do so?
Yeah, it's certainly a valid question, and I'm sure we will hear more about it. But Kelsey, how can people follow you and what you're doing at Susan B. Anthony?
Yeah, check out sbaprolife.org. We've got our own news that we offer on the abortion issue. You can check out there, or you can follow me or chat me on X at Kelsey_Pritch, Pritch, and would love to connect with people there.
All right, great, Kelsey. Well, thank you for joining me today, and I hope you will come back soon.
Yeah, thanks. God bless.
Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, guys, I am sorry that much of my end of that interview was blurry because my internet is the literal worst, and it actually kicked us off the main internet, and then I had to jump to another internet that me being plugged into the Ethernet doesn't matter because that's not the main one. It's a whole thing. It's first world problems extraordinaire. But my point is, I'm sorry if it was a little blurry. It is what it is. Now, let me tell you, I have a new sponsor coming up soon, and I'm going to tease it because I have been waiting to hear back from these people because I use this product religiously. And you guys, when I tell you about it, you're going to be like, oh, I got to get me one of those. But let me tell you before I get all that set up, I do want to tell you about my friends at Froya Organics. And Froya Organics, as you know, is one of these products that I also use religiously every day and every night. And when I tell you that they are a company that the before and after pictures are fantastic. Here's a few of them as I'm talking to you, like the most gorgeous results you can imagine. But just go to their website and check it out for yourself. And what I love about Froya is that they basically are created using the Icelandic lady skincare. And people that live in Icelandic countries, Scandinavian countries, obviously a very harsh environment, the tundra, where it's very rough conditions on your skin. And so the women there and the men have had to come up with fixes for that. And they've come up with Froya Organics. They basically bottled all of that in a little balm, and it is just fantastic stuff. My husband and I get the day and the night balm delivered every 2 months religiously. We love it. So when you go to FroyaOrganics.com and you use my code Angela Box Show, you're going to get $15 off your first order. And I assure you, you're not going to want to return this stuff. They have a 60-day money-back guarantee. You're not going to need it. Angela Box Show is going to be your referral code. Get your $15 off and send a little love over to your girl over here. So FroyaOrganics.com/Angela Box Show. Okay, guys, that's where I'm going to leave today's video. Please let me know what you think down below. And please go check out our new Charlie Kirk series that started just a couple days ago. We're going to be debunking all the nonsense going on with the discussion around his assassination. So please go follow that show and give it some love. And until next time, everybody, like, subscribe, comment, do all the things. And I will see you in the next video. I will be done. Bye.